Hello and welcome to this quick tutorial on how to use GitHub and Git. So GitHub is a sort of worldwide available repo for storing your data. So lots of companies use it for collaboration within teams to iterate their build processes. I'm going to jump straight in. Create yourself an account. So go to github.com, create an account for yourself, sign in. You can use Gmail. You can use a few other, like Slack, I think. You can use a few other different logins, or you can just create an email and password. That's up to you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just our step one for today, is we're going to create a repo. GitHub test. We're not going to give it a description. We're going to keep it private. We're not going to add a README because I want to do all of that from the command line on a Linux server, and we're going to create the repo. Okay, so now we've got our first page in GitHub. This page and this section here specifically tells us what we need to do to generate and create the files required for this Git repository, and then also how we're going to push that information back into GitHub. So we can literally copy all of this information. So what it's going to do is it's going to add into the README. It's going to initialize Git on the server. Obviously you have to have Git installed, so just yum install Git or apt install Git, depending on your OS derivative. It's going to add the README because it's the only file that we have at the moment. It's going to run the first commit. It's then going to create the branch main, and then it's going to push. Then it's going to add the remote that we've just created here. This one here. It's going to add that. So let's run these. Yeah. So that's it. That was quick. So if we now do git remote -v, we can see that it's referencing our remote Git repository that we've just created, which is cool. Now the one thing that we can't do is log in with a password anymore. This has been discontinued since about mid 2021, maybe even earlier than that. So if we do git status, we can see there's nothing to commit, but we know that we've added the README, we've committed the first commit with the README in it, and then we've set up the repo. So now, just to show you what happens if we try and push to the remote origin, it asks us for our username, it asks us for our password, which fails. And you can see here that it says support for password authentication was removed, in August 2021. So what we have to do now is go back into GitHub, click on go into settings. On the left hand side you get this panel. Scroll down to developer settings, go to personal access tokens, and then generate new token. We're going to call it the same as the repo, so GitHub test. We're only going to keep it for 7 days, although I'm actually going to delete it straight after this video. Then we're going to have this, just select this repo section. That will let us do everything that we need to do today, but depending on how many people you've got using the repo, you can give and who's using it, you can give extra access and specialist access using those extra options. So we're going to generate the token. Let's put that into, I'll just put that into a little key store. Well, notepad, hardly a key store. Right, and let's just leave that there for a second in case I've managed to cut and paste it wrong. So now what we do is we just run the git push again. Give it our account, and then we give it the password. So I'm not sure if this will happen to you, but it happens to me. I put my account in, use the same key. The first time it fails, the second time it passes. I don't know whether that's my setup. If you see that, just try it again and it should be okay. I'm going to try and work out if it is actually something to do with my setup. So now that we've done that, when we go back into our profile and we go back to the GitHub page that we just created, it's a GitHub test, we won't see those instructions anymore. Instead we see that we now see the README that we created. So it's worked. Our code, we've successfully talked to GitHub from a remote Linux box. We've added in that README and we've set up our repo. So now we're ready to create another file. So let's go to the BBC. There's some political turmoil at the moment. Let's copy that. And what we're going to do, we're going to create a new file called bbc.dm. fact.txt, and then in this file we're going to cut and paste all of this. I can do a couple of other things as well. Okay, now we save this, and again we do git status. It tells us what has changed, so or what's new, and here we can say there's a new untracked file, so we go git add, and now you have the choice. You can put a dot in and do everything, but I don't recommend that. I recommend putting in the name of the file that you want to save. This is because if you're, it's fine at the moment, but maybe a few weeks, a few months down the line, you've got a lot more files, a lot more code inside your repository in GitHub, and you're testing things out. Maybe you should have done it in a different directory, but you left it there when you committed, and you did a git add all, and then you committed that code into GitHub. That's going to be there forever, and even if you delete it, someone could go back and find it. You know, that file is never gone in GitHub. So always be careful with what you commit. Don't ever put any passwords in, all of that stuff. You know, if you're going to put anything in, make sure it's an encrypted string of some degree. Don't ever put plain text passwords in or anything. Okay, so we're going to do a git add bbc.txt. Now if we do a git status again, we can see that it now recognizes the new file has been added into Git. So now we can do a git commit -m, and we just do added bbc.txt file. These commit messages are kept forever as well. So just remember that in a year, 2 years, 5 years, if this same code base is still being used, people can go back through the commit history and see what you've done, and they'll see the title of all your work. So just try and keep it professional, these messages. So we're going to commit that. That's been committed. You can see here it's managed to do it. Then if we do a status, it now tells us that we're ahead of the main by 1 commit. So we need to do a git push, which we've done before. Back up. So now let's put our thing in. We know it's, at least I know it was going to fail the first time. Do it again. The second time it pushes through. So now when we go back into Git, we do nothing else. We just refresh. We can now see that we've got 2 files, and there it is, the bbc.txt with our message forever. Okay. So, and we can see that we've got my little hello there. So what I think we should quickly do is create a branch, make an update, and see that through, create a merge request, and then watch that in GitHub. So to create your own branch, so what you would normally do in a situation is you would see the code base, you do a git clone, and then you'd immediately create a branch. Normally it's a branch related to, say, a change ticket you've got to do for some work, or a break fix ticket, or maybe you're doing some sort of Kanban board and you've got a particular feature you want to add. You know, give the branch name something relevant so that we can kind of pin it back to you, pin it back to a date and time, pin it back to a piece of work. So maybe the task ID or the change number, that sort of thing. So now we do a git branch, git checkout -b, and the branch won't exist, so it will create it, and we're going to call it DM, and then the date 2022 10/17, and then we'll call it merge test. Now this is long, you can make it as long or as short as you like, you can make it as relevant or as unrelevant as you want, it's totally up to you. Now that creates a new branch. So if we run git branch, we can see we're on that branch. We do git branch -a for everything. We can see all the other branches that exist, and we know we're on this branch. So now let's go into the BBC file again. This time let's add some more text. So we'll scroll down, let's get this bit here. I'm really not bothered what's been said, it's just for, right, so we can't paste it in, the file's getting bigger, which is great. We do a git status, we can see it's been updated, it's been modified, so now we just add it back in. So we do a git add bbc.txt, and then a git commit -m, updated bbc.txt again, and then a push. Sorry, my search. Right. So this time we don't push back to the origin of main. We look at our branch name and we push back there instead. So we do a git push -o. There you go. So git push -u origin, and it's going to be the long name I've given it that I didn't need to. Okay, put in our password and our token. Okay, right, so now we're in. So you can see this is interesting. So because on my branch it said there's a new branch, and then it's basically setting up to merge it. So now if we go into Git and we just do an update on here, we can see that it's picked up my branch. And now let's do a compare and create a pull request. So update BBC. Just made it bigger. It says it's able to merge. It does a few sort of checks to make sure it's not going to hinder anything or break anything. You can also add your own. We're going to create the pull request. So now we've got our pull request here. If you click on pull request, it's got one in. You can click on there, open it up. It's got no merge conflicts. You can squash a merge, rebase a merge. So we're just going to create a merge commit. One in there. Looks good. So this could have been done by anybody. Actually, let's see what is changed. So if you click on files changed, you can see that it's like between lines 10 to 16 have been added, and you can see the contents, and they weren't there before. So that's quite cool. So we've got looks good. We're going to comment. We're going to do that just so it's there for record. Looks good. And then we're going to merge the pull request. Confirm merge. What that will do is put them back together so it's successfully merged, and then there's no more merge requests outstanding. Click on it again, they're all good. Go back into issues. Well, there aren't any issues. Go back to the code. We can see in bbc.txt that our updates are there. So that's it. So we've created a repo. We've created the Linux kind of repo where we create the code and push that back into GitHub. We've made an update. We also created a new branch. We push that branch back into GitHub as well. So that is pretty much everything you need to get up and running from nothing, from having no knowledge whatsoever. So yeah, just work with that, get used to it. There's so many other commands, so much else to do. There's so much more I could have added, but I think as a quick in, that's what you need. Now, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Bye.